Good evening, Chicagoland. Thank you for joining us for your weekly installment of the Veteran Support Show. We're here to talk about veterans issues live on the air. It's James Flagg, Army veteran. And again, this show is being brought to you live and in color on behalf of Warrior Summit Coalition. Warrior Summit Coalition, the one-stop shop for veterans resources. You can find more about the resources in any given community around the United States by going to the website www.warriorsummit.org or just typing in warriorsummit.org. We have a great show for you this evening. We're going to be talking to a very intelligent and special individual, Mr. Brandon Marty from the Department of Defense, actually the Department of Navy, and he's going to be discussing the Warrior Games. However, prior to getting into the Warrior Games, I just wanted to talk about a couple quick resources, which should, hold on, let me populate the page really quickly. Couple quick resources for you guys. All right. Starting with the fantastic State Treasurer's Office. We know there's a lot of nonprofit organizations out here looking for a lot of support in Veterans Affairs and many other avenues. But State Treasurer Mike Frerichs is opened up his grant request where organizations operating with a budget of $1 million or less can receive grants up to $25,000 to focus on programs in the veteran community as well as outside of the veteran space. They are looking to support or fund three categories: food programs, housing, workforce development, and of course you could get more information from the website at www.illinoistreasurer.gov. Really quickly, we do have a couple more great resources for you this evening. One from our friends over at BMO Harris. Let me put this on the screen really quickly. BMO is hosting a hiring and resource fair for military vets in conjunction with National Able Network, a great partner of ours as far as workforce development goes. They're going to be at the location downtown, which is 111 South LaSalle Street. And there's going to be a lot of resources, hiring for vets and military personnel, resume writing. You get a chance to interact with some of the BMO Harris managers and talent acquisition team. It's a great resource. And without, going too much into detail, we always have to give a shout out to our friends over at CETA, and let me put their information on the screen as well. CETA, www.cetaorg.net. It's essentially a one-stop shop resource where they refer services to over 150,000 Chicagoland community residents, and they really need a big push in their LIHEAP department, particularly for furnaces. With the weather still being cold, if you know any individuals that are struggling with the cold weather, and they need their furnace replaced, CETA has a great program that could help you get that furnace fixed, as well as pay your gas, light, and utility bills. And without further ado, looks like do we have that caller, Keiston? Caller, are you there?
I'm here, James.
Hey, all right. Good to go. Again, we're live on the air with Mr. Brandon Marty, calling to talk about the Warrior Games coming to Chicago this morning. Good evening, Brandon. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm just sad I can't be there with you in person.
That's okay. We got plenty more shows coming up, and as I scroll through my email to pull up the slides, why don't you give us a little bit of background about you, your military experience, and then we could get right into the Warrior Games conversation.
No, I'd love to. I appreciate it. So I spent 11 years in the Navy. Most of my time I was a H-60 pilot out on the West Coast in San Diego. I had a few other jobs as well. Was an admiral's aide for a time, as well as I spent some time running the Navy's Wounded Warrior program out of Great Lakes for the Midwest region. So that's kind of my connection to Warrior Games and Wounded Warrior support.
Okay.
But great to be in Chicago. Lived here now for 6 years, and the amount of resources in the veteran community is just so very strong. So happy to be a part of it.
Okay, that's fantastic. So you say your background is in the Navy, and you started with the Wounded Warrior program with them. Tell us a little bit about the games and how they ended up coming to Chicago. Because for a while they were only taking place on active duty military bases. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. They're on. I will say they're on either a military installation or the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs. So I'll give you a quick history of the game. So the games first started in 2010, and it was a partnership between the DoD, Department of Defense, and the U.S. Olympic Committee. And the thought process behind it was to help support our service wounded programs as well as wounded warriors that are enrolled within those programs, and
Okay.
really get them out of the house, get them engaged in opportunities to not only compete at a fairly high level, but just to be active, to socialize and be part of a team again.
Yes,
So
sir.
this is the 8th year the Warrior Games is be going on, and really the first time that it's in a big metropolitan place, big city, with inside of a community, outside of a military installation, like you said. So we're really excited. There'll be we compete in Paralympic style sports like swimming and cycling and wheelchair basketball and sitting volleyball and a number of others.
Okay.
And you can imagine all the opportunities in Chicago for us to host these great athletes and these sports
No.
within some iconic venues here.
That's truly fantastic, and Chicago. I don't know if we realize how blessed we are to have this competition come to our great city. As Brandon mentioned, no other major metropolitan area has hosted the games before. Again, they've always been on DoD active duty military installations. And Brandon, if you don't mind, you gave us a nice little video of the game. So as we go into the questions, would it be okay if I roll the video as well?
That'd be great. That'd be
Okay,
great.
okay, perfect. So we're gonna start with the game. So tell us, you mentioned some of the competition that's going on. Talk about the motivation for these vets and how the Warrior Games empowers military veterans.
Well, the Warrior Games gives them a stage and a platform to once again be at their peak performance, right? So many of us, when we go in the military, are at our prime, both physical and probably mental peak. And for those that are wounded, ill, and injured, they transition, and they certainly, a lot of them feel broken or are broken, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
Warrior Games these opportunities to again be physically active.
Okay.
And really, Warrior Games is only the start of their rehab or reintegration. We hope that they kind of take advantage from here in things like employment and education resources, housing resources, all those type of things to really stabilize their life and get involved within their community
Okay.
and
Okay.
become leaders.
Okay.
Many of them were in the military.
And not to cut you off, that's a great point, Brandon. And I'm really getting inspired, and I'm glad you brought up the resources. But before we talk about that portion of the event, I see just on the video, it looks like we got competitors from all across the world, many different branches. So who's all competing in the Warrior Games this year?
So you have 5 different teams. You have the Army team, U.S. Army team, the Marine Corps, Navy and Coast Guard share a team as
Okay.
sea services. You have the Air Force, of course, and then Special Operations Command has a team. So those are the 5 U.S. teams. And in the past, and again this year, we're going to have some of our allies join us as well. Great Britain will be coming with the team,
Oh, wow.
and possibly Canada and Australia as well. So you're talking about
Okay.
probably 7 to 8 teams, depending on those final two if they attend. So you're looking for anywhere from probably 300 to 320 athletes
Wow.
within those 8 teams.
That's fantastic, and you talked about the athletes and the different teams, and I'd be remiss, without giving my Army boys a good luck shout out. We ended the streak with the Navy this year in football, so I'm just gonna go on a limb and just say all of the guys and girls in the Army will probably just take over the whole competition. We're expecting gold out of everything this year. You how
It's pretty competitive. It's pretty competitive, and just like the Army Navy football game, you can imagine how the loyalties lie and the cheering sections that will be throughout all the different venues
Yep.
in Chicago. So it'll be fantastic. I can personally say from attending 3 of these that it is one of the not only inspirational and motivational events I've ever been to, but really one of the best sporting events I've been to, and we've seen some great competition.
That's pretty cool, man. Brandon, you guys are doing an awesome job. And just to let our viewers know, you're live on the air with James Flagg, Warrior Summit Coalition, and Mr. Brandon Marty, representing the Department of Defense and Department of Navy's Warrior Games. This is a live and interactive show, so you could call in with your questions at 312-738-1060, or you could tweet us at Warrior Summit US, or find us on Instagram at Warrior Summit Coalition. So we're on live with Brandon, and we're just getting into the mix of the games. We talked about the athletes, we talked about some of the sports, but it's a pretty lengthy event. It starts in late June and doesn't end until right around the beginning of July. And you did talk about some of the resource component or additional services that will be involved. We as Warrior Summit Coalition, we are very excited to play any type of role, no matter how minimal, in supporting not only the games but the athletes that come out. But can you talk about some of the things that are going on just outside of the sporting competition? Some of the extra amenities or the cool perks that the veterans and families can take advantage of that aren't participating.
No, that's great. Just like you said, this is 9 days long, June 30th to July 8th. This summer, in probably one of the busiest and best weeks in Chicago, right? Right in the middle of summertime, around that 4th of July period. So besides the competition, we're going to have a great opening and closing ceremony. Opening ceremony at Soldier Field, where we're getting some live acts to both perform after the opening ceremony as the torch is lit.
Wow.
And so you can expect that to be just a really great event, and we hope that we can fill Soldier Field is our goal with 60,000 people. So having fun, but also supporting these athletes that come in.
Yes, sir. And you mentioned Soldier Field. That's a historic monument, not only here in the city of Chicago, but also around the world. We get many people coming into town just to check out that venue, not only for the Bears games, but just for the historical context. Now, I think you and I both know, and many of our viewers know, Soldier Field, can be pretty pricey depending on what your ask is. And for this event, I can imagine it's going to take a lot of support from the community. Do you have any particular sponsors or organizations or agencies that are helping pull this off besides just the Warrior Games and the Department of Defense?
Yeah, excuse me. Yes, thank you for bringing that up. We have 2 great presenting sponsors in Boeing and Fisher House Foundation.
Okay.
And we're really excited to have them on board. Fisher House Foundation has been involved every year since 2010, and this is the first year that Boeing has come in, and we're so happy for their support. And we certainly have a number of other organizations as well that we're talking to. We're still very interested in talking to others that want to be involved. I would say both on the sponsorship and financial side, but also in other ways. Through resources that they can bring for us in the game.
Okay.
And from a volunteer perspective, from a manpower perspective, would be great. And really, bottom line for all the viewers out there, and really the general public is, just come out and support. You mentioned all these great venues like Soldier Field and United Center, where we're going to be holding the medal rounds of the wheelchair basketball and city volleyball games on July 7th. It's very hard to get in there without a price ticket.
Yes, sir.
Game or a Bears game, and these are open. These are going to be open to the public. So it's your chance to kind of come in, a world-class venue and see some great competition within that for no charge. So
that's fantastic.
Really excited about it.
And for those that did want to get involved, it sounds like you guys got a pretty good grip on recruiting athletes and getting athletes to participate in the sport. But for those that wanted to, either donate time or funds or additional resources to this event, can they connect with you? Is there a website or an email address or just some way to get a hold of you? If I say decide, hey, I want to be a part of this. This sounds like something that I could give back. Maybe I didn't serve in the military, but my dad did, or my aunt did, and I want to just contribute for all of the great things that the vets have done for this country. Is there a way that average everyday civilians can maybe contact your organization or get a hold of you to participate?
Most certainly. I'd really encourage you to go to our website, which is www.dodwarriorgames.com. And in there, you'll have a whole bunch of information around the background, the different events, venues, our schedule for this upcoming summer, as well as how to get engaged, a volunteer page where you can reach out to our volunteer coordinator who will help you or your group or whoever kind of get connected. Sponsorship information is on there, so it's a great resource for the game. So I encourage everybody to go check that out. Again, www.dodwarriorgames.com.
All right. And as you were talking, Brandon, I had a chance. Thanks to technology, I was able to pull that website up, and it looks pretty impressive. We have the dates: June 30th to July 8th, 2017, kicking off a fantastic event or series of events here at Soldier Field. From the counter, we're a little shy of 143 days and 43 minutes to competition one or opening ceremonies. How do you feel about the games? We're only a couple months out, but what's your personal thought? As a veteran, I know you're organizing it, so every day probably is a challenge. But just personally, what are the Warrior Games doing for you as an organizer, and also as a veteran yourself?
Well, for me personally, it's just great to see the community grab a hold of something. I mean, this is bringing people together, bringing organizations together, and that's really me. At my core, what I like to do. So yeah, you gave me the countdown, which I see every day when I look at the page. Okay. And we're getting close, but I'm just getting excited about it. So for me personally, as a veteran, as someone that wants to support, our brothers and sisters in arms, both still serving, but also those that served, and especially here in Chicago, my new hometown. So I'm just excited to be a part of it. Have folks like you, Victor Lagoon at the city and the mayor's office, as well as so many other corporate partners, not-for-profit organizations, and just individuals who are excited to see this come to the city and just get involved.
And I think that's the beauty of what these type of events, these type of games do. One, as military veterans, it gives us a great opportunity to meet and engage and interact with other vets from all around the world. There's so many different stories from basic training to AIT to jump school or C school, and a lot of times when we get out of the military, we go into our personal lives or our professional lives, and we lose that part of us because we don't have that connection. So these games are not only great for competition, but some good old military trash talk. But at the end of the day, it's very fun, family friendly, fun oriented, and I think it's a great way for veterans and non-veterans alike to convene in many different locations around the city of Chicago and show their support for this great nation and the great service members that sacrifice their lives and sometimes their limbs while they're going out and serving the country. But before we taper off, I just want to remind everybody, and we're live online and on the air with Mr. Brandon Marty from the Warrior Games, and it looks like we have another caller. Are you able to patch him through, Keiston? Caller, are you there?
Yes, I am. Great show.
Thank you, brother. What's your name, and what side of town are you calling from?
My name is Ray, and I have a big favor to ask you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I take 11 prescriptions a day.
Okay.
And I can't afford them, all of them anymore, because I was paid for everything. But now that my Social Security for the last 2 years hasn't gone up, I can't afford all of them.
Okay.
And I'd like to know if you could give me a number where I could, before I go, I could contact them and ask them what they need from me, to make sure that I can get covered.
Yes, sir. And I completely empathize with you. Fortunately, you have called into the right location. We don't claim to know everything or everybody or have all of the resources, but at the end of the day, we want to be that line of support to get you to the individuals that can best service you, whether that's through an organization like the Department of Veterans Affairs or programs like the Rush Road Home program or organizations like Salute Inc. That can help you in times of need and emergency services to get you the support you need so you can continue on and with your daily routine and better yourself. So yes, Ray, if you stay online and give Keisha your contact information, we're getting ready to wrap the show up very soon. But I would love to follow up with you offline and connect you with some of the resources that we have. Thank you, sir, for calling in. Brandon, I'm not sure if you're still on, but I want to thank you for your time today. Again, everybody, let me pull the Warrior Games website back up. You could go to www.dodwarriorgames.com. The Warrior Games kicks off June 30th here in the great city of Chicago at Soldier Field. You heard Brandon, he referenced getting 60,000 people there to talk about to come out and support the athletes. If possible, I want to double that. Maybe get 60 in the stands and others in the other capacities of the event. So, Brandon, are you still there?
I'm still here, James.
Okay, cool. And we're winding down. So any parting shots, any last requests for Chicagoland, any last push, to either garner support. You definitely have the final word before we talk about a few more resources. So anything you want to let Chicago viewers know about the Warrior Games again, and maybe how to get a hold of you?
Yeah, that'd be great. So again, thank you for having me on. I expect many more opportunities throughout, both hopefully with you in the future as well as your viewers to see much more of the Warrior Games and our promotion kind of in a couple months.
Yes,
Again,
sir.
it's going to be a great event. We want all our veteran supporters and even the general public that just kind of wants to come out and check it out. You will be inspired, I guarantee it. And again, we appreciate just everybody's support. And please visit our website, as you mentioned, at dodwarriorgames.com, and they can get a hold of us there.
All right. Hey, thank you, Brandon. And before we sign you off, just want to tell you thank you for your service. Thanks to you and your team, here locally and in D.C. We love you guys. We appreciate the work you did and the vote of confidence for not only believing in Chicago to coordinate these great games, but organizations like Warrior Summit Coalition, the City of Chicago, Kids Rank, all of these major players in the veteran space. We're honored and we're privileged to know you, and we can't wait for June to roll around. I think it's going to be a great time. Again, Warrior Games coming to the city of Chicago, Soldier Field, United Center, and everywhere in between. And it's all about veteran support. And essentially, that's all we're about here at the Veteran Support Show. Making sure that you have access to the resources that are available to you, or accesses to the individuals that can help you out. So without further ado, I'd like to thank you all for tuning in tonight. Thank you, Ray, for your call. Thank you, Brandon, for your time. God bless you all. If you have any questions, please call in to CAN TV, 312-738-1060, or look for us on social media. All right, Chicagoland, have a good night.